Activating barricade.
Sensor data out.
Commencing surveillance operations. UAV mission timeline 50% check. UAV perimeter established.
UAV in left mission area. Sniper's nest awaiting orders. Sniper's
Hostile TAC deploy beacon online.
Deploy to firing positions.
Target identified. Engaging. Sighting in.
Enemy TAC deploy beacon destroyed.
Maurice maneuvering. Headshot.
Commencing engagement sequence.
Mission timeline counting down.
What an intro, people. What can I say? Black Ops 4, missing it, loving it heaps. I wouldn't say loving it heaps, but I'm missing it heaps. And what I am loving heaps is Infinite Warfare. I think Infinite Warfare, I've been back on the PlayStation 4, in case you haven't been following what's happened with me, is my Xbox got the error code, rang them up, and they said they're going to repair it. They repaired it, still the same issue, I've got to send it off again. Very frustrating, there are tears. But anyway, that's an old clip. I got that from probably say 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was when the lobby was campy. I broke out the Mozu, as you can see there, with the special attachment, the Skull Blast, whatever. And you're not going to believe, peeps, I got that little spree there, got the Sniper's Nest, and I was super stoked and pumped. So that was a bit of a long intro, but this is probably going to be, I think, my first bit of vlog of 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is my first bit of vlog. I haven't done one of these for a while. But this one's going to be a bit of a serious one. And it's more based here in Sydney, Australia, and it's what we call, and what the subject is going to be about, pill testing. Now, I didn't want to cover this subject, but I want to cover it because I can see both sides of the fence. You're going to say, what's this got to do with gaming? Well, it hasn't got much to do with gaming, but it has got a lot to do with my past. Now, way back in, say, 92 to 96 almost, or even longer, I did a lot of raving and, partying hard in the club scene, particularly a lot of raving. And back in those days, the raves, holy dooly, it was hardcore. There was all sorts of manner of narcotics involved. Now, the one thing I don't like is when people start talking about, drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. The only difference is it's taxable, it's to a measured quantity, and it's generally pretty safe. The problem with illicit drugs is it's not really measured to stay. You don't know what you're taking, and it's not really that safe. So, thing is, people always got to take drugs. The sooner the government realise that, the better. So my view is they should legalise, in some terms, the lesser drugs. I think we should legalise the cannabis and make that into a different trade, but that's a whole nother video. But I don't think we should definitely legalise the drugs which really do encourage criminal activity or terrorism, or more importantly, to overthrow governments. You can basically say ice and cocaine are the best for that. Trust me, they are. The US government has used cocaine for all sorts of reasons, and so has communist groups here and there. And look, I'm not going to boast here. I'm not going to, go, oh, I've done this and done that. I've done a plethora of drugs. It's nothing to boast about. But there's a couple things I want to bring up. So here in Sydney, Australia, if you don't know, we had the lockout laws. So the party scene got, the lockout laws was you can't get out of the pub or go from different clubs from 2 o'clock onwards. And the lockout laws shut most pubs and clubs by 1 o'clock in Sydney. Now, that's a real sad thing because back in the day when I used to go to clubs, in all sorts of manner of clubs around Oxford Street, King's Cross, they were open until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. That's hardly the case now. Only a few of them are. And drinks are really expensive, and it's hard. Once you leave one club at 2 o'clock, you can't get into another club, so you're stuck in the club. There's not many clubs around there. So when I first started raving back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, it was because of the pub scene was pretty boring, pretty violent. It wasn't the fun, and I wanted something different where you could just let yourself go. So with my brother and a few other friends, we raved regularly. Now, backtrack to common times. A lot of people have died from taking ecstasy or different drugs in Sydney festivals here, or different festivals right across the country, more importantly between Victoria and New South Wales. And a lot of people come out and said pill testing is the answer to stop this. And a lot of people like Gladys Berejiklian, our Premier, said no, that encourages people to take pills. Now, I can see where she's coming from. She said she's never partied hard or had ecstasy or anything like that. I actually do believe her. Yeah, she's a liberal, say no more. It's quite different, but you know, love her or hate her, she's making a strong stance for her constituents. And the thing is, everybody's missing here is when I was raving back in the day, and I know I'm sounding pretty old, there is a pamphlet, a little package handed out to every raver that went to the rave, as many raves as possible. It's called Rave Safe. And in the packet was a pamphlet that told you all about what the drugs did. Stopped all the myths. It told you what to do when somebody's overdosing on all drugs or having a bad episode on all drugs. It also highly recommended that you call an ambulance no matter what, okay? An ambulance no matter what, and they told you how much you'd pay. Back in that day, I think it was $220 for an ambulance fee. And they put in big bold letters, you paying for it because you chose to take the drug. And remember, that ambulance coming to save you because the drug you chose to take could be taken away from somebody who was completely innocent with a heart attack. Those were its words. Had a compass and several condoms. And they recommended with all the drugs you take water and do not mix with alcohol. Take drugs with a responsible or strong friends or a good group of posse that you're with. And more importantly, be utterly safe. They are illegal. They went for the whole process of what they did, from ecstasy to MDMA, LSD, speed. Heroin wasn't in there and neither was ice, but they all went through that with LSD, and I've had all those. Okay? And one thing I'm going to tell you here is they always told the recovery position what to look for and how to help people out. Now, Bob Carr back then was totally against drugs, so when he found out about these pamphlets, the first thing they totally banned. So the pamphlet couldn't be printed anywhere, and then they tackled raves. And look, you know, I look back in the day, I'm surprised we didn't blow up, because it was all out in these abandoned warehouses, mate. It's another video in itself. No club on the planet, I've been to plenty across the globe, compared to the raves, what they were like in the day. I mean, it was hardcore here in Sydney, people. It was really hardcore. I met Moby before he got really big. I met Helena Christensen at a rave, Carl Cox, all these people back in those days, because it was the rave scene in Sydney back in the day was one of the best scenes in the globe for a period of a year or so. That's what I heard. Either way, I enjoyed it. Now, that was the thing. Fast forward to when they cracked down on that and raves started to get more into sports centres and, halls and so forth, and they tried to really clamp down on it. A girl called Anna Wood died. Now, she died from ecstasy. Everybody made a big thing. It was quite tragic. It was very sad. Her father became an advocate for it. And the couple of things that were picked up in there, one bloke was Anna Wood's friends, who she was in a bad state for a good 4 or 5 hours. They didn't do anything. And he was asked, why did you call the ambulance? He goes, nobody does that because you get busted by the cops. Now, in the rave safe situation, that is not the case. You pay a hefty fine. Once the drug's in your system, the police aren't going to give you a hard time. They might give you a lecture, and you'll pay whatever it costs to go to hospital, but your life will be saved. Okay? And this is why, if you're going to do any of this stuff, do it with friends you trust, do it in a safe place, and at least have 1 or 2 of your friends who are completely sober, well experienced, and ready to go and deal with these situations. In all my years of friends taking from very, you could say, hard drugs to a very high level, I've come across 3 or 4 overdoses, and every time we called an ambulance. Every time it's from somebody who drank way too much alcohol, didn't look after themselves, or had plenty of water in this process. And I'm not going to go into how you should look after yourself here and there. I'm not going to expect many views in this video, but I'm just telling you straight out flat that was my experience growing up. Now, pill testing. Okay, so back in the day when you usually scored before you went to the party, or you risked while you scored while you're at the party. Don't forget a lot of undercover policemen and sniffer dogs. Trust me, sniffer dogs can sniff MDA caps no matter how far you show them up your dacks. But that's the difference. It doesn't matter. So choose them at your own wits, and you can never be 100% sure. So a reliable source back in the day. So if one person sold one dodgy pair of pills, back in the day there was, I'm not kidding you, there's only really 4 or 5 major sources each raves, and you knew, right? They didn't last. Now the demand has gotten bigger, the supply and demand. People don't know what they're getting mixed with GBH, a bit of ketamine, bit of all sorts of stuff mixed in there all together, and before you know, you've got a major issue. So lo and behold, here has come the big call, what they're saying they do in England sometimes, what they also do in Amsterdam and places like that, is pill testing. Now, police are still going to try and bust you for selling illegal drugs at these venues, and I'm all for that. Fair enough, that's the way it is. You can bitch and moan about it as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's not a measured dose of drugs. You're not paying tax, so you're doing something illegal. That's it, okay? So they haven't tested in the last couple of festivals, and a couple of people have died. And the last one was down in Victoria at a weekend do. Unfortunately, a young couple were found dead in their tent, and that's the sad thing. It's good to have their lovey-dovey time, but I can tell you now, no matter what drug they took, they probably didn't drink enough alcohol, eat enough food or fruits, and as my camera goes out of focus there, people, it just wasn't the best. So now they're trying to do pill testing, and guess what? They tried it down in Victoria, no overdoses. I think a few people were arrested, but in the pill testing they found a lot of very pure, strong ecstasy tablets, but not only that, they found a lot of nasty stuff in there as well. Did that prevent deaths? Hard to say. Did it stop crime? No. Did it encourage people to take drugs and stuff more? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I think there needs to be more awareness, and I think people really need to read up on these things and not listen to their mates. Look into it yourself. And generally what I used to say, if you're serious about taking any of these drugs, take it at home. Take it at home in your living room where you've got nice surroundings, you're not in a club or anything like that where you got to freak out. Take it where there's plenty of water, no alcohol, and at least have one or two of your mates be completely sober with you when you go through that experience. Simple as that, peeps. It really is. And look after yourself and each other. And look, I know it's going to be a touchy subject here and there, and I don't want to go too much into my past, but I can see where both people are coming from. Not only should there be pill testing in my belief, but there should be a lot more open conversation with parents and young kids about doing this journey or what they're looking into, and cutting out all the BS, okay? Cutting out all the BS. A lot of these drugs affect women worse than men. There is a lot of a come down 2 or 3 days later, which you're not aware of. They're things you got to look into. You got to look into the next morning. There's a group called a fruiters group. Now, the worst thing about ecstasy and MDMA, it can stay in the system for quite a while. So people will binge drink the next day or take marijuana or bulbies, whatever, to get the rush out. But the best way to do it was this fruiter group used to walk around in summer with a big bowl of fruit. And if you're coming down or you're into your cycle, they give you fruit and it'll bring out the last bit of ecstasy in a good, safe way. And then your body will learn to recover. And they used to give out calcium tablets to women and all sorts of stuff. There was so much emphasis on it. And it was weird. Don't get me wrong, there was a major nasty element in raising the day. When there's always a way to make money illegally, you got to get that. So, I don't know. Am I for pill testing? Are you for pill testing? Does it prevent things? I don't think we should go the way of what's happened in Europe and in England. Much bigger numbers. They had no choice. But in Australia, we can get to a happy medium where people are like, you know what, I'm going to take this responsibly and take the risk and go over that way rather than just, heaps of pills. And this is the one thing about Australians, people. A lot of people don't realise in Australia we have a shocking thing. We're one of the highest people on the planet to mix and binge on our drugs. So we'll go sober all week. Come the weekend, we have no problems in popping pills, snorting cocaine, taking ketamine, and drinking till there's nothing left. And it's a shocker. So most of these venues should not sell bottled water. They should at least give about, should be half the price because they have exorbitant prices of alcohol. But people go stupid and they'll always do stupid things. It's always in summer and they overheat, and that's the way it is. And I don't know if you'll ever prevent it. More people die of alcohol, young people do, than are doing illegal drugs. But let's face it, that's legal. They're getting it from their mum's houses. That's another debate in itself. But I can see the pros and cons of pill testing and non-pill testing, man. Like, I could go on about it for ages, and I've seen it, and I've seen so many. I mean, you'll be surprised how many dealers I met said they want to bring the pill testing in because it'll make it better for their competition, and also see who the police are, so they can make more money from that way. And that's the honest truth. Does it change the stats in there? I don't know. But you tell me where you're from and tell me what you think about it. I don't want to hear about your personal experiences. I want you to be respectful. But what do you think? Do you think pill testing is a good thing or not? Or do you think there should be more awareness and education before people make that step? Because at the end of the day, when you make that step, and particularly if you snort cocaine or speed, like I used to tell people, particularly cocaine, do not rule out that this cocaine's come from a country where somebody's been raped, murdered and killed and pillaged for that right. Before you start taking it regularly, snorting it, be comfortable with yourself on that matter. And as for ecstasy, who knows what persons make that. It's generally made locally or whatever. But look at it that way, okay? You're providing and supporting an industry that really isn't the best with most people morals that goes to these venues, which is why I stopped taking them and why it's like, I'm hypocritical. A lot of fun here and there, but with the right group of people, okay? So like I said, tell me your thing down in the comment section down below. Do you think pill testing will help? Do you think they should talk to their parents more often or whatever? And I don't know. Work it out amongst yourselves. Be kind and respectful in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed the intro. This is a long beta vlog. The next ones will be a lot more lighted conversation. I am going to clear out my hard drive now because it's now Monday, and by the time I send off my Sorry, look.
Hostiles approaching.
That's me phone. So before I go any further, Frag and Tabby, good days on you. I'm going to post off this Xbox again and hope they get a new one. And I'll catch you mofos in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this bit of vlog. Yes, sorry to wake you ruckus. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to watch Game of Thrones. Yeah!